Hi everyone, and welcome back to Manda T and Me. Today we're going to be doing something a little different and something wildly outside my comfort zone. A little over a month ago, ColourPop released their Hocus Pocus collection, which is such a comfort food movie for me, and I knew I wanted to do really fun, different things this week for Halloween. So as part of our Skippy Spectacular week, I'm going to be doing a little get ready with me, since I'm going to be streaming tonight anyway. So let's try to make something magical, or at least something that doesn't look absolutely horrifying. Alright, keep in mind guys, I am not a skin person, I am not a makeup person. Basically everything I know about those things, I know because I watch other people. If you want to know about those things, know about, excuse me, if you want to know about those things, I would be happy to make some recommendations for people I like, but literally there's a million makeup artists and skin people out there, and I would highly recommend you finding one of those people, and certainly don't look to me for advice. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's really terrible. Okay, we're gonna stick with the warm colors for now, and I won't turn that on until we do eye makeup. Anyway, so I have now maturing, very sensitive, very oily skin, so it's going to seem really odd to you that I actually use this hydrating serum primer from, believe it or not, Wet n Wild. I never really gave Wet n Wild much consideration, and then they did a big like promo a few years ago because they went cruelty free, and that's certainly like something I try to consider when purchasing makeup. I'm sure there's probably something in here that's not, you know, 100% on the up and up, but I do try really hard. But anyway, so on a whim I tried this because like it came with like a set, and I was like, well, I'm gonna try this, and I actually really liked it. I don't know if I can show this to you, but it's really thin. You think primer, and you're like, oh, well, let's like fill every pore, fill every crevice. And in this lighting, you can see I have some really unattractive acne scarring. I had, especially in my early teens, I had horrendous like cystic acne. I still get breakouts on my chin here and on my cheek here, where I had at one point or another some really deep, large cysts, and I think it just did something under the skin there. So yeah. So anyway, I'm just gonna kind of, and because it has hyaluronic acid in it, I'm pretty sure that's what this has in it, I'm gonna bring it down to my neck a little bit too. Also, wherever you're going to put makeup, put your primer. That kind of, I hope that makes sense. So anyway, we're gonna give that a moment. And okay, so maybe not this one. Something I used has hyaluronic acid in it, and I was like, that seems like a good idea. This has green tea extract and rose water, which I can't imagine that. Let's see here. Chicory flour, soybean oil. So don't use it if you're allergic to soy for sure. But yeah, it doesn't have anything super alarming in it. But yeah, it does have kind of a, I don't know, pearlescent quality to it. Oh, let me make sure. I get really dry right around the crease around my nose. So anyway, okay. I'm gonna press that into my hands. So anyway, my progression with makeup has been long and arduous. I don't know. I like the idea of makeup. There are so many beautiful, I can't even say women, but there's so many beautiful people out there who are so good at makeup. I am not one of them. So, alright, as you can see, I have really kind of thin little eyebrows. They could be thinner, so I can't complain too much, but they don't really pack a lot of punch, and my hair is like coming out of this thing. Anyway, so I do, when I henna my hair, because my hair is much lighter, I also do my eyebrows intermittently, just so I don't have to fill them in quite as aggressively. And then there's a couple different brands of eye pencil I use. Mostly I try to have variety because Auburn is one of the hardest colors to find. So this is the NYX like microbrow pencil. It's like a lot of them that have that super, it's like zooming on my face, super thin point. So we're going to start with the tail and just kind of fill those guys in. It's been a little while since I've had my eyebrows done. It's one of those things that I do when I have time. I just kind of get some feathery guys on the ends. You'd think with such tiny little eyebrows I wouldn't need it, but honestly I'm not particularly skilled. Okay, we'll come back to those. So I also have the e.l.f. like brow palette in Auburn, which is really nice. You can go really heavy with it or really not heavy with it. I use the kind of brighter bit up at the front. Now, when I do my makeup for work, I do this about 3 times the speed, mostly because I'm not explaining what's going on. But you'd think for someone who works graveyard, this wouldn't be a big deal, but I do have to meet with vendors and contractors, and of course members of management and corporate management. So even though I live that vampire life, I still have to like look professional. Also, I don't use a quick change pod or whatever. I literally just grab a paper towel from the bathroom, because I use it for other things along the way. So, okay, back into this guy. There's kind of this colored wax. The idea is to fill in kind of the gappier parts of my eyebrows without having like actual blocks. So I try to use, I used to literally just fill in underneath, but over time watching other people do their eyebrows, I kind of picked and chose what I think looks nice, and then of course what looks nice for me. So that's pretty much done. I might throw a little bit of clear wax on those at the end, but for the most part they're done. So because I'm not real skilled with applying foundation after eye stuff yet, I actually really like this. Is the e.l.f. Like brightening concealer, and it has like this brush tip, and I kind of block my eyebrows, but it's not so much to give them like a wild shape or anything. It's kind of a way. Oh god, I forgot to put on eye primer. Oh my goodness. See? Here, let's tap this in real quick. So as you see, most of it's gonna just go into the sponge, but alright, let me curl my lashes. I'll do that first because otherwise you get like really gunky stuff on there. Okay. I don't use like anything revolutionary. I use a lot of e.l.f. just because they have so many basics that are so good. Like, you know, if it's not broke. But I think everybody's like favorite Putty Primer, and I use it in Rose. It's the coolest color that they carry. It's still very yellow on me, but as you can see, not only am I fair, my skin is very, very thin, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. That's actually kind of one of my biggest struggles with makeup anyway, is that my skin is so thin that you can kind of see quite a bit of my vasculature underneath. So even my dark circles really aren't dark circles. That's literally just like my veins are super visible under my skin. Unfortunately, that is not a lack of water. That's not a diet problem. That's not a sleep problem. That is a genetic problem that I cannot overcome with, you know, essential oils and meditation or whatever nonsense people spew out about other people's business. But I'm going to really gently, this stuff, once it's down, it's down. I do believe it has kaolin clay in it, which is actually something I look for in cosmetics because I'm very oily, but I don't want a lot of products that have salicylic acid. First of all, I do have older skin, so I don't want to strip my skin. I don't want to like damage the moisture barrier, but kaolin does a really nice job of kind of controlling the amount of oil that penetrates your makeup without adding something that's going to strip it. So this kind of helps me, at least when I put makeup on later. And again, like real thin, because this stuff is pretty thick and it doesn't move real well if you don't work it when it's warm. It really helps stick your makeup because your under eye is so thin and so delicate. Like, everything's going to crease there if you're not taking care of it. Now, I did full makeup before I did full skincare before I took my nap, but I did run a little bit of micellar water over, just so I would have kind of a tidy palette to put my primer on. So normally I do these steps as soon as I get out of the shower. Okay. All right, back to the eyebrows. So I did the top. Again, we're just gonna take this right up underneath. So I'm not real great still at the whole foundation after eye, but at the same time doing it that way has a lot less cleanup than foundation before eyes. So anything to make makeup easier, I'm here for. I'm really red in this area, so like I said, it's not doing a whole lot, but it gives me kind of this border here, so when I blend in my foundation, I don't have to worry about this thicker foundation ending up in my eyebrows and all that nice shading I did going away. Okay, so speaking of eyes, I think this is one of the things that I've been most looking forward to is the eye palette. So this is the palette. I'm sure you have seen like 1,000 people do this already. I have to say, guys, I'm such a sucker for makeup that has like details. Like, come on, the insides of the boxes, especially like the Disney ones, are always printed. Gosh, it's so stinking cute. Like, I always feel bad throwing away the packaging, but I'm not going to save it. If I buy makeup, I'm going to use it. And then so here are the colors. They're very fall. I saw the last year's palette. It did have more pots, but I think the colors were a little more wild, if you would. So, even like when I have wild colors, again, because I have a professional job, I have to make sure that how I use them is still wearable. So, I have a wild array of brushes. I've slowly been getting pickier about them now that I kind of understand a little bit more about how brushes work. I'm gonna have to turn on the horrible light though. Yeah, you can see that I have a lot of freckles that are not like really faint freckles, but like a lot of them, but you can really see the veins on the side of my face. So let's talk about that while I go in. So the very first color I'm going to use is 300 Years. It's going to be this champagne color, and I'm going to pat that just under my brow bone. Now, I have extremely deep set eyes, if you can see. I feel like it makes my eyes look smaller than they really are because they are so set in. So most people are going to put their highlight on at the end, and that makes sense for most people who have a little bit more eye to work with. I put a little bit of highlighter down as kind of like a boundary to remind myself that I need to stop, so I don't end up taking my color like up to my hairline. So I have a very flat and wide shadow brush. It's an Eco Tools one. I have an e.l.f. one that's very similar. I have a ColourPop one that's very similar, but it has almost like a seashell shape to it, so it doesn't work quite for this activity. So I'm gonna go in and just tap it a little bit under my brow bone, and it's just kind of a nice reminder, kind of like safety tape. Do not cross this line. So why is my skin so thin? Well, if you've been here for a minute, if you follow my social media, you know that, oh, I have an eyelash, the worst. I have a fairly uncommon genetic condition called ehlers-danlos syndrome. Well, there's 13 types of ehlers-danlos syndrome, so I can't just be like, yeah, it's like this. And everyone has varying degrees of symptoms, but I have what is known as classic type. Although I present as classic-like, I don't fulfill what is called the Brighten test or the Brighten protocol. I never have, but I did have genetic testing done, and I do in fact have ehlers-danlos, and I do have classic type, or at least markers for it. So okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to go into this color Summon Us. I put my finger in it. It's going to be this tan color right here. I'm a sucker for a good tan. So this one has like a bit of a green kind of khaki to it. So what does that mean for my skin? Well, if you look up ehlers-danlos, you're going to see tons of pictures of people with very stretchy skin or who have crazy elbows. Now, my elbows are in fact what gave it away to a very smart physician, an orthopedist, who was like, that ain't right. The first time anybody knew there was really something wrong with me, when I was about 3, my parents were installing glass doors in a home they had bought, and see, now I know to stop because I hit just the perimeter of that highlight. So we're gonna stop there. That is such a nice base color. Oh my goodness, it's so smooth. Okay, so I have a new brush. I've been looking at it for a while. It's the small taper blending brush by Sigma. This is the first like professional brush I've ever bought. But for a long time I kept thinking, let me show you. I wanted a blending brush that was pointy. And I have literally never found one. And then one time I saw Robert Welsh using it. I was like, that's the brush. That's what I need. So anyway, we're gonna go in with this one here. It's like a kind of a goldy butter color down here. My finger there. So we're going to go ahead and put that in our crease. So my parents are installing these shower doors, and it only takes a second for disaster. Well, somehow I pulled one of the shower door panels onto myself and it fell on my 3-year-old arm. And of course, when the door came off, my arm was bent the wrong way. Big panic. Take me to the emergency room. For sure it was broken, right? Toddler, arm going the wrong way. Thinking all the worst things. But with manipulating it just a little bit, it popped back together. Because I hadn't broken my arm. My left elbow just completely dislocated. Pretty subtle. Alright, so I wasn't sure if I was going to need a heavier transitional color, but I think I'm going to. So we're going to come down here and we're going to use this kind of taupey khaki color called Green Newt. So other than some bruising and some tenderness, that's pretty much it. That was the first sign. And honestly, looking back, we now know that there were others, but even as late as the 1980s, it was still relatively unknown. So when I saw an orthopedist several years later, it's getting away from me there. Because I was having these horrible sprained ankles, especially on my left side. Can we match the shape? He instantly saw my elbows and was like, I know what that is. Now, there wasn't genetic testing back then, not for this. And all they really had was the Brighton scale, which you can look up, but it's like how far back can you bend your fingers? Can you bend over and place your palms directly on the floor? Etc., etc. And that was supposed to be the criteria for determining if a patient had ehlers-danlos. Okay, well, back then it was measured on a scale of 0 to 4, and so I was diagnosed as a 0.5 because I had wacky elbows. And look away, because I am going to put a horrendous picture right here of my elbows. Not something I'm going to make a habit of, but I think it conveys the point. But anyway, so I was diagnosed at 7 clinically with this condition that no one had ever heard of. Well, here's the thing. My crazy elbows aren't unique to me. Because my grandma, my dad's side, had them too. And my dad's sister has chronically weak ankles and is prone to injury. And my dad has always been very prone to injury and is very flexible. So eventually I needed to have surgery on my ankle on my left side, and you guys will know that as my bad ankle. Okay, we're going to use my like Ride or Die ColourPop E3. You'll see why. So it's a flat brush and it's pointy, but the bristles are super dense. So I use it for powders and for Super Shock shadows because it really packs on, but it gets into the crevices around the eye. And then we're going to go in the outer corner, and we're going to use this rusty color up here called Life Potion. So, had the surgery, and I had a pretty active childhood. I had a pretty active teenage experience. I played sports, I was in a ton of extracurriculars, and for a very long time I was a long distance runner. Now there's only a couple pictures of me, like full body pictures of me floating around on like Instagram and stuff, but I'm small. I'm about 5 foot, 5'1", I weigh 120, 125 pounds. So I'm built like a thin hobbit. So sprinting was never my thing, but boy could I run long distance. I'm using like this side mirror here. So I hope you don't mind it being all up in my eye business. So what does all this have to do with my very thin skin? Well, I kind of never really pursued learning much about EDS until I really had to. Now, I was told that it was going to hit hard when I turned 30. Well, I didn't quite make it to 30. Around 27, I had a traumatic ankle sprain. And basically the surgery I had should have prevented me from being able to have a sprained ankle. Okay, if you hear that horrible sound, I'm taking my brush and I'm actually rubbing it against the texture of my paper towel, like a quick change pod. So after this traumatic, same brush, we're going to go into this coppery maple orange color here called Bubble Bubble. We're just going to tap that in the inner corner. So this is why I like this brush. Let me tilt up a little bit for you guys. Because my eye is so deep set, I have a tendency to transfer color all over the place with rounded brushes. This pointed one allows me to get into the corner of my eye without getting stuff all in here. So I was going to grad school at the time, and I had to visit the clinic, and they took x-rays and all sorts of stuff. And the doctor who saw me at the clinic also taught med school, and asked me if I wanted to participate in a study. Well, it didn't cost me anything, and what I would gain from it is I would have free genetic testing done. So I answered a survey, she took blood and all sorts of stuff, and that was it. They cared for my ankle, and I didn't think much of it. So I'm going to go ahead back to my fat flat brush. We're just going to diminish that seam between those two colors. And then with my finger, we're going to go in with this color here. It is a very goldy yellow, but it has a slight olive reflective quality to it. So yeah, it's kind of fun. For things like this, real gentle, I'm going to use my fingers. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to tap that, and right where I blended that seam, I'm just going to dab a little bit at the highest part of my eyelid. It'll make your eye look a little bit larger. And it catches the light really nicely. Well, eventually I got a call back months later, and the doctor let me know that I had genetic markers, classic type ehlers-danlos. She emailed me some pamphlets, and that was it. So, okay, going back to our eyeshadow brush, I'm gonna just knock out as much of that red as possible, and in that corner I'm gonna go in with this purple color here called Hello Billy. It's like a dusty eggplanty color. We're only going to use this for just a little dab in the corner for a little bit of depth without being too dark. So in the meantime, I just started having the sprained ankle sort of healed, but I started having debilitating pain, and this went on for well over a year. So I finally got connected with a specialist, a podiatry specialist that I had seen many years before, who were more, I thought I had like a plantar wart. Turned out, because of the way I walk, I had developed a really horrible, basically a corn on the end of my foot, that was like literally causing me to teeter even more. So he literally just shaved it off and was like, there you go, you can walk. And I could. It was fine. So because he was in my insurance group and I'd seen him before, I was like, hey, I'm gonna call this guy and see if he'll look at my ankle. So I had to wait a while, and then I ended up going out of work on medical leave like days before this appointment, because I literally woke up one morning and could no longer walk. So So at this point, I'm going to clean up that. And then we'll go in with liner. This is why I like this concealer. I like the clicky bit because it helps me control this line here specifically. This does two things. Cleans up my shape over here, and it also starts depositing concealer where I have some of those really obvious face veins. after having to see this specialist and starting to get care for my foot, I started doing research into the connection between my foot concern, because it's not a hypermobile problem, but I did learn that my foot issue can be a comorbid condition with EDS. And I learned a lot of things then because I had to. Okay. So I actually got a new thing in the mail today. It's supposed to go with the e.l.f. Camo Concealer, but I really like the shape of this, so we're going to try this today. I'm just going to go in, kind of just pat that down to clean up that shape over there. And then over here, I am painfully right-handed. And one of the things, now I'm very fair-skinned. My ancestry is very Western European. Let's see if we can even this out just a little. Get my little shaperino here. I'm blending this a little bit so it's not so harsh. Oh, that's better. So of course, I do have very fair skin. I have a very cool skin tone even without this horrible light. So, and one of the things I had mentioned was like very papery skin. Well, I'm covered in scars and stuff because my skin tears super easy. Okay. Let's do, before liner, let's go ahead and do foundation. I used 2 colors of this since we're just coming out of summer. So this is the Missha Perfect Color BB Cream. I don't use a dense foundation often because it doesn't look super good on me. And then this is the color 21, but in the winter I'll start using number 13. So it started kind of coming together that all these weird little things, me being accident prone, lots of mystery bumps and bruises, really kind of just come back to this diagnosis that I had as a child and just largely disregard it. And some of that includes things like very translucent skin. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know too many people who, at a young age, had skin so thin that you could see veins in their face. But that would be me. Which is one of the reasons I generally don't wear, unless I'm doing like fancy makeup or something, I don't know, for pictures, or I don't go out into the real world with full coverage foundation because my skin is so translucent that once I put full coverage on, it starts to look very mask-like on me because you're covering up something that is veiny. So, I mean, already that's nice and even, mellows out the red bits on my face. I will conceal this guy just a little bit, and this guy up here, but, yeah, it's real nice natural finish. It's not heavy, and even as someone who's pretty oily, it really holds up pretty good. Yeah. So it has all sorts of skin goodies in it. I do really like the Katie Cosmetics. It is a shame that their color range is very narrow for people who are not fair, but I'm thankful because most Western cosmetic companies don't make a color that is cool enough for my skin tone. Light enough, maybe. Definitely never cool enough. Okay. So let's do a dab of concealing, and then we're going to go back to that eyeliner. So funny, because, like, this feels such, like, a high maintenance sort of look. And I would already be done with my makeup if I was going to work. But we're just gabbing, right? So what does this make me think about all those times when I was in high school and got made up for being very fair and all the daywalker jokes, and it's like, yeah, kinda. I can tell you though that just because I came into this world put together like a delicate flower doesn't mean that I live like one. So bumps and bruises all around, I'm still gonna live my life. Okay. I love that finish. It's basically my skin improved, and that's it. Okay, so they do make other formulas. If you do find that you are on the lighter end of the scale and you're really having a hard time getting a color match, try Korean Cosmetics. Seriously. Okay, so as someone who has a connective tissue disorder, having steady hands is kind of a problem for me, and I love a good cat eye. So I finally gave up and gave in, and I bought eyeliner stamps. Got this one from Amazon from like a special. And yeah, I'm never going back. I'm never going to stress out my hands ever again trying to get a cat eye. And when I mean stress out my hands, sometimes grabbing a pencil wrong, I can dislocate my fingers. So yeah. So it's left side, left wing. Guys, if you have mobility issues, if you have... I'll use this one. If you have mobility issues, if you have issues with your hands, cut corners, cheat like crazy. You can still feel girly and fancy and glamorous. Just cheat. Seriously. Now, like if, you know, getting semi-permanent makeup done makes your life easier and that's important to you, then, you know, that's your business. Just, you know, research that stuff first, but it's one of the reasons I get my, sorry guys, it's one of the reasons I get my eyebrows done by another person. Really, here's the stamp. I really just kind of have to fill in the gap. Hold on, I gotta put my head down for a second. I can't see. One thing I have also found is in like traditional eyeliners, like the stick kind, I've kind of stopped using. I will take, switching. Now I'm not pulling on my face. I'm just putting pressure on the side here so my eye doesn't spasm. Got a little down here. Okay, so we do have a little bit of gap here. We can literally just lay it underneath. There you go. No gap. I don't use those like waxy pencils very often anymore, although I might pop out and grab one when we're done to finish this to make it look extra spoopy. But yeah, if you have mobility problems, if you have dexterity problems, you don't have to, or you just, I don't know, drawing isn't your thing. Don't fuss about it. You're not, if you're doing makeup for you, and I hope you are, don't let anyone's expectations of what your makeup should look like. Okay, we're gonna do a coat of mascara. I generally do my mascara before I do my blush, because after blush I usually do setting spray, so I want my mascara to have dried down before I do that. Okay, so because I have oily skin, I actually try to avoid using as many powder products as possible, because it just kind of gets gross and clumpy. So I use, again, it's another e.l.f. product because I love my basics. So the e.l.f. Putty Blush, and this is my favorite color. It's called Tahiti. It's kind of like a cool peachy pink. So I think it would look flattering on anybody who had a cool or neutral undertone. And I don't know how to contour. I've tried. I think it's just my contour color options are very limited. So I actually saw the one of those like old-timey tutorials. Somebody was reviewing it. It could have been one of the Welsh brothers. It could have been, I don't know. It could have been one of those people. But anyway, they're talking about this old makeup tutorial, and essentially the gal was applying her makeup in a triangle here, and because of the shape of my face, since my face is somewhere between an oval and a diamond, I actually use my blush to do some of my contouring. So I start high on my cheekbone up here, just below that really thin patch. And then if I look at my eye, I put it right under the sclera, right to on the outside, and then right in between. The idea is that it pushes this forward where I don't have a lot of cheek, and because my eye is, of course, deep set. So because our foundation is still a little tacky, this will actually blend in and we kind of marry with that. So I use this is a Beauty Junkies brush, but I really like the size of this stippling brush, and really light. We're going to kind of just make the triangle meet, and then I'll pull it up just into my hairline a little bit. Again, it also kind of does double duty because it covers up this thin patch where I have really obvious veins on the side of my face. Okay. So I'm going to go back into our little witchy palette here, and I'm going to take the Life Potion, the red rusty color here, and I'm going to put that kind of at the center of my eye here. Just kind of buff that out a little bit. And then I'm going to take Summon Us, this taupey color here. All we're doing is bringing this color in down underneath to kind of continue the look. I like to do this after my mascara is dry because they seem to goof up my eyes less that way. And then of course we're going to take Hello Billy, our eggplant color, and we're going to bring that into the corner. And because it's darker, it kind of blends in with our cat eye a little bit. But as far as eyeliner, usually what I do is I take an angled brush, a real fine, and I kind of like scrape off a little bit of the powder, put it on the back of my hand, and then mix it with water and use a really fine brush and just make eyeliner out of it. It works better for oily skin, I think. Okay. Now I forgot to grab a like Wonder Pencil for my under eye. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I lied. It's not a Wonder Pencil, that's NYX. Right now I am using a BH Power Pencil here in the color Beige. So the only time I really use eyeliner anymore, I'm just going to go right into my waterline with this. This is not an everyday sort of thing I like to do, but for more dramatic makeup, it makes your eyes look really big. And that's what we're going to do. And let me show you, I totally forgot to show you the little stubby brush I use under here. So the e.l.f. Focus small smudge brush, and it is tiny. It is a very dense little rounded brush here, but it's great for that under eye for blending. It's also great for eyebrows. I use it for both. All right, so before we spritz, let's get extra fancy. I have the e.l.f. Jelly Highlighter in Bubbly. I told you I like e.l.f. I like my basics. I don't I'll spend like more money on like the eye palettes and things, or I can be a little splurgy with lip products, but when it comes to basics, I want something that's going to work every time, no frills. So right above where we put our blush, I'm not going to go past my iris. Okay. And I'm going to grab my stippling brush since this already has some of our blush, and I'm just going to lightly blend that up. Towards our hairline. Again, because it's a liquidy product and we haven't set our foundation, it's just going to become part of it. We're not doing layers and layers of stuff. Okay, no. Boop, boop, boop. I know I have a substantial nose. No, I don't contour it. It's my nose. Okay. Now, if you have drier skin and can get away with it, you can totally do a little on your forehead. I don't. Also, I'm oily and I have a 5 head, so let's not go crazy up here. Okay. And I think I'm just going to put a dab more highlighter on my brow bone, and we're going to set. So then what? Well, oh, if you make any mascara errors, these like stubby brushes are perfect. Once that mascara dries, what you can do is you can go through and rub it real gently and it just flakes off. Perfect. Alright. So our eye palettes put away. I use a couple different setting sprays. I tried this one. It's the Catrice setting spray in like the dewy finish. I actually try to avoid the matte ones because I feel like they make my face feel crackly. So I'm going to back up away from electronics. Hope you had a great view up my nose. Alright. So, I saw somebody do this once and I thought it was like the bougiest thing ever, and I realized how practical it was. There we go. So that's pretty dry. So because we're doing something special today, we're gonna do some lashes. I'm bad at lashes. I'm gonna tell you this right now. And I'm so bad at lashes that I actually bought like a set with the special clampy job. So I've done lashes before, I'm just bad at it. I hope that makes sense. And we're not going to do big lashes. I figure if we're doing a witchy look, we should have witchy eyes. So, we have the Ardell babies. They're very popular, but we're not going to use a whole one. We are, in fact, going to snip them. If you have a hard time placing lashes, and I know this is not the first time you're going to hear this recommendation, but if you do have a hard time with lashes, if you have small eyes, smaller face like I do, just cut them. Seriously, and I don't understand because demis are super expensive. Like, considering what you're getting, just get regular lashes and cut them in half. Alright. Okay. So there's our first one. And we're just going to put these on the outer corner. if I use these little grippy things like they're intended, I can actually be holding my lashes. There we go. Oh, I see some people put these on and they make it seem like the easiest thing in the world. But yeah, cut them in half. You can cut them however you want. Figure out lashes. You bought them, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. It's the alarm to tell me if I'm napping, it's time to get up and start getting ready to stream. The little baby guys. Alright, so we have on half lashes and they're cute. I'm gonna put this mess away here and we will have lashes for another day. So yeah, I pretty much only use lashes for like parties, like Christmas parties and stuff, and then Halloween. But I found out just watching other people that if you're not good at lashes or you have small eyes, just cut them. And or if you want to use the whole lash, you can cut them into sections and then apply each section. Alright, can I curl these a little bit without mushing them? I can. Okay, that one's actually curly enough. We're just gonna leave that one. Alright, so finishing this up. This incredibly long video. I apologize. So just gonna knock some of my powder. I totally did not show you what that is. I will come back to that. So I'm using a little like mochi textured sponge. A friend of mine gave it to me as a gift, so I have no idea where it's from. But if you look up mochi brushes, you'll probably, or mochi sponges, you'll probably find it. So it's not really baking. Basically I start with powder in my oiliest places and give it a little set, and then I'm going to brush it off. I avoid this area so it doesn't settle in. Okay, and again, not too much. We're gonna take, so that was the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder, and this is in light. I did order the pink one. At some point I will try it out. Okay. So we have some lip options. I'm going to show you what they are, but I'm going to pick the neutral because that's, we've already done some spicy eyes, but I bought the bundle that had the Super Shock, the eye palette, and the 3 like cream lip colors. So these are the 3. There's Hello Boys, which is black, I believe, Calming Circle, which is like this nudie color, and then Tonight We Fly, which is like a deep purple. So we are actually going to pick the Calming Circle. I'm such a sucker for like a lip, like a just nude lip. I actually have really red lips naturally, so I don't know. It's kind of funny that I like cover them up. Alrighty. So yeah, so these are really cute. I'm glad I bought them because they're super wearable colors. I kind of didn't even look at the colors when I bought them. I was just like, I love this movie. I'm gonna get the palette. I'm gonna get a set. So let me brush out my hair and I'll show you guys the final look. Alrighty guys, I'm back, and so here's the final look using the Hocus Pocus collection that I purchased. So we have our very fall colored eye, neutral lip. Yeah, I think it's super cute. I totally realized I did not show you the Super Shocks that I bought. That was the box I showed you guys at the beginning that has this cute illustration of our 3 witch friends. And then the really cute runes. And then the 3 Super Shock colors, which I'm sure I will get a lot of wear out of. There's To Be Young and Beautiful Again, which is like this kind of goldy color. That's like a taupey gold color. And then there is Forever Beautiful, which is this deep purple. And then this very yellow gold one called Dost Thou Comprehend? Amazing, right? So anyway, I'm sure that you will see many more looks made with this palette. I can't wait to play with the purples. Yeah. So I'll take some pictures for Instagram so you guys can see, but yeah, that is a very slow version of kind of how I do my makeup on the everyday. Yeah, for anybody who does have some limitations with cosmetics, with their hands, or any of that sort of thing, please share your recommendations or share tips down below. I think that visibility is super important, and if you love something, then do it. Find a way, or seek out others who have figured it out. So alright guys, well this was super weird and fun, and I hope you appreciated it in some capacity, and I will see you guys on the stream very soon. As always, take care and happy sipping. Bye!